The key trembled in Mira Chen's hand as she stood before Ethan's office door. The building was silent, Sunday afternoon emptiness that made every breath sound like thunder in her ears. She shouldn't be here. Not like this. Not with suspicion curdling in her stomach and his words from that morning still ringing in her ears. I've never been more certain about anyone in my life. She had believed him. Until the text message came, "I miss you. When are you coming home to us?" One text, 7 words. A photo of a little boy with Ethan's eyes. Mira pushed the key into the lock, the metal scraping against metal like her conscience scraping against her heart. The office was immaculate, just like Ethan himself. Modernist furniture, architectural drawings pinned to boards, the faint scent of his cologne still lingering. She moved toward his desk, each step heavy with the weight of what she might find. The drawer was locked. She knew it would be. The spare key she'd found in his apartment, the one he didn't know she'd discovered, fit perfectly. Inside lay a sleek black ledger, innocuous enough to be business records. But Mira knew better. She'd seen him writing in it late at night, closing it whenever she entered the room. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside, in Ethan's precise architect's handwriting, dates, times, names. 2 columns. 2 lives. Alicia and Leo, Denver. Weekly calls on Tuesdays, 8 p.m., Mira, Boston. No contact Tuesdays. The ledger slipped from her fingers, pages fanning across the polished floor. Her phone buzzed, Ethan's name lighting up the screen. "On my way home. Thought we could have dinner at that Italian place you love. Can't wait to see you." Mira stared at the message as tears blurred her vision. Home. What did that even mean anymore? 6 months earlier, "If you check one more time whether that guy is looking at you, I'm going to pour this drink over your head," Zoe said, nudging Mira's elbow on the bar counter. "I'm not," Mira lied, though her eyes had indeed drifted to the tall man at the end of the bar for the 4th time in 20 minutes. Zoe snorted. "You're the worst liar in Boston. Seriously, just go talk to him." "And say what?" "Hi, I'm Mira. I just spent 12 hours in pediatric oncology, and I'm emotionally drained but physically wired. Want to grab a drink?" "That's actually not bad," Zoe mused. "Honest, direct, shows you have a heart and stamina." Mira rolled her eyes but found herself smiling despite her exhaustion. After the day she'd had, losing 7-year-old Ellie after an 8-month battle with leukemia, she hadn't even wanted to come out. But Zoe, fellow nurse and best friend since nursing school, had insisted that solitude was the enemy of grief. "He's coming over," Zoe whispered suddenly. "What?" "No." Mira started to protest, but it was too late. The man was indeed approaching, a quiet confidence in his stride. "Excuse me," he said, his voice warm like aged bourbon. I couldn't help overhearing. "You work in pediatric oncology?" Mira nodded, trying not to stare at his face. The kind of face that seemed designed by an algorithm for maximum appeal. Strong jawline, intelligent eyes, the hint of smile lines suggesting both humor and experience. "My sister was treated at Boston Children's 5 years ago. Lymphoma. She's in college now. Thanks to people like you." Something in Mira's chest loosened slightly. That's wonderful." "I'm Ethan Blackwood," he said, extending his hand. "Mira Chen." His handshake was firm, but not aggressive. "This is my friend Zoe." Zoe gave a small wave that somehow conveyed both "nice to meet you" and "I'll be leaving you two alone now" as she spotted someone across the room. "Oh, there's Dr. Kaplan. I need to ask him about a patient." "Be right back," as Zoe disappeared. Mira shot her a look that promised retribution later. "Your friend is subtle," Ethan said with a small laugh. "About as subtle as a cardiac alarm," Mira agreed. They talked for hours. About his work as an architect specializing in healthcare facilities. I wanted to build spaces that heal after seeing what my sister went through. About her journey to nursing. My grandfather had cancer when I was 14. His nurses were the only ones who made him smile in those last weeks. About books and music and their shared love for old black and white films. What she remembered most from that night was how easy it felt. like slipping into a conversation that had been paused years ago and was now simply continuing. When he walked her home, he didn't try to kiss her. Instead, he asked if he could see her again. "Dinner tomorrow? There's this Ethiopian place that changed my life." "I work until 7, Mira said. "I'll pick you up at 7:30, he replied, certainty in his voice that made her heart flutter. As she watched him walk away, Mira felt something she hadn't felt in years: possibility. Their relationship progressed with the comfortable inevitability of a river finding its way to the sea. Ethan was thoughtful in ways Mira hadn't experienced before. He remembered details, bringing ginger tea when she mentioned a scratchy throat, surprising her with tickets to a jazz festival after she'd played a Coltrane album one Sunday morning. "He seems perfect," Zoe said over lunch in the hospital cafeteria, 3 months in. "Too perfect." "What's wrong with him?" Mira stirred her soup. "He travels a lot for work. Sometimes he's hard to reach when he's away." Zoe raised an eyebrow. "That's it? That's the fatal flaw? He gets these calls sometimes. Steps away to take them. Won't say who they're from. Maybe it's work, maybe." Mira shrugged. "It's probably nothing. I'm just—" She trailed off. "Waiting for the other shoe to drop," Zoe finished for her. "Mira, not everyone is Jake. Jake." Mira's ex, who'd sworn he loved her while sleeping with her roommate. The betrayal had left scars that were still tender to the touch. "I know," Mira said. "Ethan's different, and he was." When she told him about Jake, about her trust issues, Ethan had held her hands and looked directly into her eyes. "I will never lie to you, Mira. I've seen too many people lose time they can never get back. Life is too short for games." She believed him. Even when he abruptly canceled plans. Even when he disappeared for days on urgent projects. Even when he changed the subject whenever his past relationships came up. "He has an ex he doesn't like talking about." Mira told her brother Lucas over coffee one weekend. "Is that weird?" Lucas, 2 years sober after a battle with opioid addiction that had nearly torn their family apart, considered the question carefully. His recovery had given him an almost preternatural insight into human behavior. "Depends," he said finally. "Is he upset when he doesn't talk about it, or is he hiding something?" "There's a difference." "What's the difference?" "Pain has a certain texture. You can feel it even when someone's trying to hide it. Deception feels hollow." Mira thought about Ethan's face when she'd asked about his past relationships. There had been something there, but was it pain or emptiness? She couldn't tell. "Just be careful, Mira," Lucas said. "When someone shows you only perfect pieces of themselves, you have to wonder what they're keeping in the shadows." 5 months in, Ethan gave her a key to his apartment. "I'm away so often," he explained. "It seems silly for you to wait for me to let you in." His apartment was like him, elegant, thoughtfully designed, but with surprisingly few personal touches. No family photos, no mementos. Just carefully selected furniture and artwork that spoke of taste rather than history. "Where are all your childhood photos?" Mira asked once. "Don't you have any?" A slight tightening around his eyes. "House fire when I was in college. Lost most of that stuff. That's awful. Do your parents have copies?" "They're both gone. Car accident my sophomore year." She'd held him then, feeling the solid warmth of his body against hers, wondering at the losses that had shaped him. It was during his trip to Chicago in month 6 that the first real dissonance struck. Mira had gone to water the plants in his apartment as he'd asked. She was looking for a glass in the kitchen when she opened a drawer and found a phone charger, for a phone model Ethan didn't own. "Oh, that's an old one," he said dismissively when she mentioned it. "Haven't gotten around to tossing it." A week later, she found a child's drawing tucked into a design magazine. A house with stick figures. "To Daddy, love Leo," scrawled in crayon. "My colleague's son," Ethan explained. "He visits the office sometimes." Cute kid. Then there was the call. Mira had been half asleep, curled against Ethan's side, when his phone rang at 11 p.m. He'd tensed immediately, checked the screen, and stepped into the bathroom to answer. She'd heard only murmurs, but when he returned, his face was tight with what looked like guilt. "Everything okay?" she asked. Just work, he replied. But he didn't meet her eyes. The doubts collected like dust in corners, easy to ignore until you really looked. But Mira didn't want to look. She wanted to believe in the man who brought her coffee in bed, who listened to her stories about her patients, who made her feel seen in a way no one else ever had, until the text message arrived on her phone by mistake. A message clearly meant for Ethan. I miss you. When are you coming home to us? The photo attached. A smiling boy, maybe 4 years old, with Ethan's distinctive eyes. The evidence spread before Mira on her kitchen table like a grotesque puzzle. The ledger she'd taken from Ethan's office, printouts of emails she'd found in his rarely used desk drawer at his apartment between him and someone named Alicia. Photos of Ethan with a woman and child that she'd discovered hidden in a locked file on his laptop. Mira had guessed his password after 3 attempts. Zoe sat across from her, face pale. Jesus, Mira. I don't understand, Mira whispered, though understanding was beginning to crystallize with brutal clarity. He has another family. In Denver. Not just another family, Zoe said, pointing to the ledger. Look at the dates. He's been with this Alicia for 7 years. They have a son together. Leo, Mira said numbly. The drawing I found. And these business trips. Zoe flipped through the ledger. They aren't business trips at all. He's been going home to them. Home. The word felt like a knife. What are you going to do? Mira stared at a photo of Ethan with his arm around a pretty woman with auburn hair, a little boy balanced on his hip. They looked happy, normal, real. I'm going to call someone, she said finally. Rebecca Torres had agreed to meet Mira at a cafe across town. Ethan's ex-girlfriend, or so Mira had thought. The name had appeared repeatedly in old emails, with references that suggested a significant relationship. When Mira had found her on social media and reached out, she'd expected hesitation. Instead, Rebecca had responded immediately. I've been waiting for this call for years. The woman who slid into the seat across from Mira was elegant, with shrewd eyes that missed nothing. You look exactly like his type, she said without preamble. Mira flinched. And what type is that? Smart, compassionate, professional. Someone whose career requires long, irregular hours that make it hard to track someone else's whereabouts. Rebecca's smile held no humor. I was a surgical resident when we met. How long were you together? 3 years. I thought we were going to get married. Rebecca stirred her coffee methodically. Then I found out about Alicia. His wife in Denver, Mira said. Rebecca nodded. Not legally his wife. He's too careful for that. But yes, his partner. Mother of his child. Did you confront him? Of course. He denied it at first. Then when I showed him what I'd found, he broke down. Told me it was complicated. That he loved us both. That he couldn't bear to hurt either of us. The words were like echoes of conversations Mira had imagined having with Ethan. Her stomach twisted. What did you do? I left him. But not before I spoke with Alicia. Mira's breath caught. You told her? Rebecca's eyes hardened. I tried. She didn't believe me. Said I was jealous, trying to break them up. He'd already prepared her, you see. Told her about his obsessed ex who couldn't let go. That's what he does, Mira realized aloud. He creates a firewall between his worlds. Exactly. And he's very good at it. This isn't accidental, Mira, it's pathological. Have there been others? Besides you, me, and Alicia? Rebecca reached into her bag and pulled out a manila folder. I've been tracking him. Call it closure therapy. There have been at least 2 others that I know of. Both relationships lasted about a year. Both women were like us, dedicated professionals with demanding careers. All while he maintained his relationship with Alicia and his son. Rebecca's voice softened slightly. That poor kid. Mira stared at the folder, at the documentation of Ethan's elaborate deception. Why are you sharing this with me? Because someone did the same for me, and I didn't listen. Because this man has built his life on lies, and someone needs to tear down the walls. Rebecca leaned forward. And because you strike me as someone who might actually do something about it. Ethan arrived at Mira's apartment with flowers and that smile that had once made her heart race. Now it made her sick. "I missed you," he said, leaning in to kiss her. Mira stepped back. "We need to talk." Something flickered in his eyes, caution perhaps, but his expression remained open, concerned. "Everything okay?" "Sit down, Ethan." He complied, placing the flowers on her coffee table. "You're scaring me a little." "Good," Mira said. "You should be scared. I know about Alicia and Leo." The change was subtle but immediate, a tightening around his eyes, a slight shift in his posture. But his voice remained steady. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't." Mira's voice cracked. "Don't you dare lie to me now." She placed the ledger on the table between them, watched as recognition dawned in his eyes. "You went through my things." Not a question, not even anger, just a flat statement. "After I received this." She showed him the text message and photo. "Alicia meant to send it to you, but somehow it came to me instead. A simple mistake that collapsed your house of cards." Ethan ran a hand through his hair, a gesture she had once found endearing. Now it seemed calculated, a move to buy time while he formulated his next lie. "It's complicated, Mira." "No, it's actually quite simple. You've been living a double life. You have a family in Denver, a partner of 7 years and a son, while pursuing relationships with other women." "Including me?" "It's not like that." "Then what is it like? Explain it to me, Ethan. Help me understand how you could look me in the eye and tell me you loved me while you had a child calling you daddy in another city." His eyes darted to the door, calculating escape routes. Mira had anticipated this. "Zoe is right outside," she said, "and I've forwarded everything to my brother. So running isn't an option." Something shifted in Ethan then. The facade cracked, revealing a glimpse of what lay beneath, not shame or remorse, but a cold anger that made Mira step back involuntarily. "What do you want from me, Mira? An apology? Tears? Some dramatic confession?" "I want the truth." "For once," he laughed, a harsh sound nothing like the warm chuckle she knew. "The truth. Everyone says they want the truth, but they don't. Not really. Try me." Ethan stood, pacing the small confines of her living room like a caged animal. "Fine. Yes, Alicia and I have been together for 7 years. Yes, Leo is my son. And yes, there have been other women besides you." Each confirmation was a blow, even though she'd known it all already. "Why?" The question escaped as barely more than a whisper. "Because I need different things from different people. Alicia is the mother of my child, my partner in raising him. But she doesn't challenge me intellectually the way you do. Doesn't understand my work the way you do. So I'm what? Intellectual stimulation? A diversion?" "You're more than that," he said. And the terrible thing was that he seemed sincere. "What we have is real." "Had," Mira corrected. "What we had. And it wasn't real, Ethan. It was a performance." "No." He stepped toward her and she retreated. "My feelings for you are genuine. I compartmentalize my life, yes, but that doesn't mean my emotions aren't real in each compartment." "Do you even hear yourself? You're talking about your relationships like they're filing cabinets. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You're a narcissist who's built an elaborate system to get exactly what you want without consideration for the people you hurt." His expression hardened. "You think you know me? You've seen what, a few emails? A book of dates? You have no idea what it's like to be me." "Then tell me," Mira challenged. "Make me understand." For a moment, something vulnerable flickered across his features, a glimpse of the man she thought she'd known. "My parents' marriage was a prison," he said quietly. 40 years of quiet desperation. My father had one affair that nearly destroyed them, and then they stayed together in miserable fidelity until they died. I swore I would never live like that. So instead you lie to everyone who loves you? I give each relationship exactly what it needs to thrive. With Alicia, I'm a devoted father and partner. With you, I'm a fraud," Mira finished for him. "A man who told me he valued honesty above all else while living a lie. I never lied about my feelings for you. You lied about everything else. Your past, your present, your future, It was all fiction. Not all of it, he insisted. The moments we shared were real. But they were stolen, Ethan. Stolen from your son, from Alicia, from the life you committed to before you met me. He ran his hands through his hair again, frustration evident. What do you want from me, Mira? What's your endgame here? I want you to face what you've done. To all of us. A cold calculation entered his eyes. And if I refuse? Mira reached for her phone. Then I call Alicia myself. I send her everything. The ledger, the emails, the testimony from Rebecca and the others. You've spoken to Rebecca. It wasn't a question. Yes. And unlike Alicia, I believed her. Ethan sank onto the couch, suddenly looking exhausted. You'll destroy my family. Is that what you want? To punish Leo for his father's sins? The manipulation was so transparent it almost made Mira laugh. Don't you dare use your child as a shield. This isn't about punishing anyone. It's about truth. Truth is overrated, he muttered. Not to those of us who've been lied to. Mira sat across from him, maintaining distance. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell Alicia everything. Today. While I'm present, on speakerphone. Or I will do it for you. You can't ask me to— I'm not asking. For a long moment, they stared at each other across the coffee table, the flowers he'd brought now wilting between them, much like the relationship they'd represented. You think this makes you noble, he said finally. The truth teller. The righteous one. No, Ethan. This just makes me honest. Something you might want to try. The cafe was busy for a Tuesday afternoon. Mira stirred her tea, watching the leaves swirl in patterns that reminded her of how life could change in an instant. 6 weeks had passed since Ethan's world had imploded, since she had helped to implode it. She still remembered Alicia's voice on the speakerphone. The initial disbelief, then the devastating realization as Ethan, cornered, had finally confessed. Not everything. Mira had filled in gaps he tried to leave. But enough. Penny for your thoughts, said Zoe, sliding into the seat across from her. Mira smiled. Just thinking about how different everything looks now. Regrets? About Ethan? No, she considered. About how it ended, sometimes. I wonder if I should have just walked away, left him to his deceptions. And let him do the same thing to the next woman? And the next? Zoe shook her head. You did the right thing. I keep telling myself that. Zoe reached across the table to squeeze Mira's hand. He made his choices. You just exposed them. Mira nodded, though the weight of that exposure still sat heavily on her shoulders. After the call with Alicia, everything had happened quickly. Alicia, devastated but determined, had contacted Rebecca. Together, they had pieced together the full extent of Ethan's deceptions. Not just the romantic relationships, but financial ones as well. Money diverted from their joint accounts. A secret credit card in Alicia's name. The last Mira had heard, Alicia had filed for full custody of Leo and was pursuing legal options for the financial fraud. Ethan had disappeared. Closed his architectural practice, vanished from social media. His apartment now stood empty, the rent unpaid for 2 months. Have you been back to work yet? Zoe asked gently. Mira nodded. The pediatric oncology ward had been her sanctuary these past weeks, the place where her focus could shift entirely to others, where her own pain seemed small compared to what the children and their families faced. It helps, she said. Being needed. The kids missed you. I missed them too. She took a sip of her tea. I'm thinking of applying for that coordinator position. The one that opened up last month. Really? That would be perfect for you. It would mean more responsibility. Less time for distractions. Zoe gave her a knowing look. You're allowed to have a life outside the hospital, you know. I know. I'm just not sure I'm ready to trust my judgment again. Your judgment was fine. You saw the red flags. You investigated. You uncovered the truth. That's not poor judgment, that's strength. Mira considered this. Maybe? Definitely. Zoe checked her watch. I've got to get back. Walk with me? Outside, the autumn air was crisp with possibility. As they walked, Mira found herself looking at the faces they passed, strangers living lives she knew nothing about. How many secrets did they carry? How many truths remained unspoken? Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A text from Lucas. Still on for dinner tonight? I'm bringing someone I'd like you to meet. Mira paused, her finger hovering over the reply button. Everything okay? Zoe asked. Lucas wants me to meet someone. Like, meet someone? Meet someone? I think so. Mira bit her lip. I don't know if I'm ready. Zoe adjusted her scarf against the wind. You don't have to be ready for anything serious. Just dinner, conversation. Remember what those are like? Vaguely, Mira said with a small smile. She typed her reply, looking forward to it. What can I bring? As they continued walking, Mira felt something shift inside her. Not healing exactly, but a realignment. The pieces of herself that Ethan had fractured beginning to find new positions in relation to one another. You know what I realized? She said to Zoe as they approached the hospital. What's that? I've spent so much time thinking about Ethan's lies that I forgot something important. Which is that I was strong enough to face the truth. Even when it hurt. Even when it meant losing someone I thought I loved. Mira stopped, looking up at the hospital building where children fought battles most adults couldn't imagine. That's not weakness. That's courage, Zoe smiled. Now you're getting it. That evening, as Mira prepared for dinner with Lucas and his mystery guest, she found herself thinking not of Ethan, but of the children in her care. Of little Ellie, who had faced death with more grace than most face life. Of the parents who somehow found strength to continue after unimaginable loss. If they could rebuild after their worlds shattered, so could she. She placed the last physical reminder of Ethan, a photo of them at the jazz festival, into a drawer. Not tearing it up or burning it in some dramatic gesture, but simply putting it away. A chapter closed, not in anger but in understanding. Her phone buzzed again. An unknown number. I'm sorry for the pain I caused. Not sorry enough to have done things differently, but sorry you were hurt. You deserved better. Amira stared at the message for a long moment. Then, without replying, she deleted it. Some apologies came too late. Some truths once revealed couldn't be unseen. But the future remained unwritten, a blank page waiting for her to find the courage to begin again. She thought of what she'd tell her young patients when they faced painful treatments. Sometimes the things that hurt us most are the things that help us heal. As she picked up her keys to head to her brother's apartment, Mira realized she was ready to believe those words again, not just for her patients, but for herself. The truth had shattered her world. But in that shattering, she had found herself. And that, perhaps, was the most unexpected gift of all.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.